this type of injury, like you don't know. When I wake up, I'll feel, different than the day before. And
this is the first time we heard from Caitlin since the team announced on Memorial Day she was dealing with a left quad strain. She would be out for at least 2 weeks.
We were told that Clark was not seen in the open portion of practice by reporters who are on the ground there.
Just watch and absorb it, and it's the same when, I'm not active too.
When Caitlin Clark eventually revealed her injury report, the WNBA was shocked because it wasn't what the league had hoped to hear.
We'll see. It could be a possibility, but I could also not be available for that game too. I think just having good perspective is the best way to approach it. Like, yeah, you can be frustrated and whatnot, but, I think the medical team has done a really good job of,
This entire organization depends on one woman, and they have pushed her so hard that she is no longer able to play or rescue their empty venues, according to The Panic.
Yeah, I'll be reevaluated this weekend, so I'll miss this weekend's game. But after that, it's, day by day and see how I feel and just kind of turn to the medical staff and what they think.
When Caitlin Clark eventually spoke up, we were all meant to pretend stunned that she wasn't returning right away. Did we really expect her to play in the WNBA, where she gets essentially beaten up every night like she's in a street fight?
I think the medical team has done a really good job of, doing my rehab every single day, staying in a routine, coming in, getting shots up. But more than anything, I think just focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them.
Clark went down holding her left quad on May 25th in the middle of a crucial game against the New York Liberty, who are the current champions. That's her top draw and your most vital player face of the team, and it seems the league didn't think it was a huge concern.
What we've been told so far by the team is that this is actually an injury that was separate from the quad tightness issue, as Caitlin Clark described it earlier in the preseason, that she dealt with before. So it's a little bit of an interesting situation given that it was the same leg.
As the Fever finally revealed on Memorial Day that she would be out for at least 2 weeks, everything fell apart as if it were held together by Scotch tape. Clark herself stated that she would miss this weekend's game and that it would be day by day based on her condition. So don't hold your breath because she isn't putting her career at risk, so the league can continue to take advantage of her while doing nothing to protect her.
Now, Caitlin was asked when she's expected to come back. She told us she would be reevaluated after the weekend. After that, it would be day by day. The Fever are on the road for 2 road games before coming back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse next Saturday.
The reevaluation date is June 9th, and let's face it, nobody is expecting her to return like it's a Marvel movie comeback. She's human, not a marketing machine, and this injury has obviously pushed her patience to the limit. However, what is Caitlin doing while she's out? She's actually learning and observing being a leader from the bench, and the league is blaming gravity, I suppose, and the fans, well, they're not just disappointed, they're furious. The June 7th game against the Chicago Sky was supposed to be a blockbuster, and the ticket market was hit like a bomb. The ticket prices fell off a cliff. A Hata Venizos is going from 80 plus to 14. That's not just a dip, it's a full-blown fire sale. Since the league's real star is out with a broken quad, many genuinely canceled vacations, refunded hotels, and decided it wasn't worth the gas money. To be honest, I don't blame them. Who wants to pay top dollar to watch Angel Reese run around acting like she's in a Gatorade commercial?
Caitlin telling us she's been a connector between her coaches and teammates. They've gone 1 and 2 without her, and they'll be without her again this weekend.
With hashtags like Deus Protect Our Players and Boycott WNBA, social media exploded, and for once, the internet made sense. One tweet, which received thousands of retweets, said, "Why support a league that can't protect its brightest star? Fans are done being quiet. They're angry and they have receipts."
So I think that's just kind of been the time for me to really find some patience, and I've never been a patient person my entire life, so this has definitely tested me a little bit, but I think it's going to be really good for me. And like I said, I've just tried to approach it in the best way I possibly can. I can't change it. And
Fever ticket prices generally plummeted, falling from an average of 137 to 80. This isn't a marketing problem. Rather, it's a league-wide meltdown, which occurs when the guy in charge of your entire brand collapses and everyone realizes, oh wait, there's no backup plan, just vibes.
The girl is spectacular. It's not like she's not a scrub. She's not only can play, she's a star caliber player who draws this attention.
The league essentially gave her a pat on the back instead of holding her accountable for some of her egregious infractions, saying things like, Nice job nearly decapitating someone. Here's a sticker. The WNBA's review system is so flawed that it could as well be run by Magic 8 Balls. What are we doing here? With Reese's phony drama and Carrington's careless attacks, the WNBA's garbage, and let's not even talk about the WWE cosplay taking place during these games. It appears more like a staged smackdown than professional basketball players collapsing like dominoes while the league looks on. Tweeting motivational sayings.
WNBA's trash.
The WNBA is exposed, the hype has faded, the seats are empty, and the tickets are less expensive than a Happy Meal. Angel Reese is still acting like she's in some kind of superstar rivalry, but without Caitlyn. She's essentially shouting into thin air, and Carrington is out there mistakenly believing that people's heads are basketballs.
When a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player.
As things stand, the only thing the WNBA is defending at the moment is its own denial. Let's not sugarcoat it. This isn't competitiveness, it's negligence, and the league, not Clark, is responsible for fixing it. The fans lost their enthusiasm when Caitlin Clark exited the court, and it seemed that the WNBA's whole revenue model collapsed. The arenas began to reverberate like deserted warehouses, and even the popcorn vendors appeared disinterested.
I think just focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them, because that's what I am when I'm playing. So you got to still be that consistent voice when I'm sitting on the bench. So I try to do that as much as I can for them, and just try to be there for them, I think, has been my focus.
The Indiana Fever lost 1-2 while she was away, and that one victory wasn't due to some miraculous coaching insight. Rather, it was due to Ari McDonald, a player who was signed on a hardship contract and showed up with no practice, yet carried the team as if she had been there the entire season.
Everything that you guys told us during the offseason about playing quick, playing with pace, pushing the ball up the court, everyone run, they weren't doing that, especially in the last two.
You would think that after losing your most valuable asset to careless contact, the league might, show some urgency, but no. The WNBA's official stance appeared to be, let's hope no one asks questions. And believe me, the fans noticed that social media turned into a full-blown riot after Clark's injury TikTok YouTube. They all lit up like a Christmas tree on fire, and they weren't just disappointed. They were ready to burn the house down.
But for the Fever, one thing to keep in mind is that this is a sort of situation where the next 2 weeks, luckily for them, the schedule is a little bit playing the Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Sun, who haven't won yet. So they are trying to hold down the fort for now, while Caitlin Clark will be out.
Even Chicago Sky supporters, who were undoubtedly giddy with anticipation for Reese's long-awaited rematch, publicly declared that they would be returning their tickets. One fan even remarked, "If Clark isn't playing, it's not worth it." The Clark effect, which is also a concern for the WNBA, is when you get a ticket to see your own team and decide it isn't worth going since the other team's star isn't playing.
A lot of you were commenting that she was sick. You could hear it in her voice that she was sick. It seems like at this point, this is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlyn at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
The statement, "This league is trash without Clark," didn't just happen to be popular. Fans were incensed by dirty plays, missed calls, and the league's public relations team's complete disappearance. It was as if the WNBA had turned the mute button on itself. The second accountability was required.
Covers up a lot of stuff when you're in the heat of battle, and after the game I had some pain and then got an MRI, and that kind of gave me the result that I didn't want to see, but those type of things don't lie, so yeah.
Fans were circulating footage of body slams being passed off as defense, and pundits were calling it out. It was anarchy, and to make matters worse, the WNBA has too many games that depend on too few players. Where is the enthusiasm for Sabrina Ionescu, and where is the support for A.A. Wilson? If the league had known how to develop stories around multiple characters at once, even Angel Reese, with all her theatrical antics, might have been appropriately elevated. Instead, we have a league that is hanging off a single cliffhanger and has no end in sight.
Think that it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. With them saying a minimum of 2 weeks, I feel like that's kind of just giving us breadcrumbs, just giving us enough information. And I actually don't think that they're going to give more for the sake of Caitlyn.
If you want to talk about a pivotal moment in the WNBA's history, this is it. When Caitlyn departed, everything in the league collapsed, including revenue, engagement, enthusiasm, and fan demand for answers. Instead of sending sweet sentiments, they're calling for change and wondering why the WNBA uses YouTube videos and cross fingers when the NBA has biometric technology, specialized trainers, and load management.
We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season. If you have something going on in your legs, like your legs are actually a huge part of your shooting mechanics, something was thrown off. So if that part of her body was thrown off, it probably threw off the entire mechanics.
The requirements are unambiguous. Put money towards player safety, hire many marketers, and stop allowing players to go decked out. Please have someone teach these teams how to prevent shooters from being cross-lined every other night when in midair without a flagrant call. No one wants a hasty comeback, and to be honest, Caitlin shouldn't even think about it until the league shows that it can protect her. She is no longer just the player. She is the brand, the face, the attraction, the source of income, and the entire ecosystem. Yet she is the one who is lying on the court motionless while the league simply shrugs. Clark may be on the bench, but her quiet is louder than any buzzer in the building, and people are finally listening. As a result, the WNBA either matures now or watches its golden goose fly away and never look back.